In the middle of the night, I felt someone crawl onto my bed. My eyes fluttered open, and I was met with the sight of my roommate Cassia's face. A face made horrifyingly grotesque by a botched cosmetic procedure. Her head was tilted down, her neck unnaturally elongated, her face pressing almost against mine. Cassia leaned close to my ear and whispered, her voice a low sibilant sound, "Elara, are you awake?" After graduation, to save on rent, I shared a 3-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment with 2 other girls. But my roommate Cassia was, for lack of a better word, a complete oddity. She was a streamer on some social media platform, not working a normal daytime job, but instead streaming late into the night, sometimes until 1 or 2 in the morning. Her particular brand of weirdness manifested whenever I was on a video call with the man I was seeing. Cassia would invariably manage to appear in my room. Wearing nothing but a bath towel, she would sashay in and say in a syrupy voice, "Elara, I just need to hang some clothes on your balcony." This bedroom with a balcony was already pricier than the others by about $50 a month, but Cassia clearly treated my private balcony as a communal space. After hanging her clothes, she wouldn't just leave. She'd linger, peering into the camera, and coo a saccharine "Hello, big brother," to the man on my screen. Frustrated and embarrassed, I eventually resorted to locking my room door. Locking the door curbed that specific behavior, but it wasn't long before she started bringing different men home to stay overnight. Sometimes I'd emerge from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel after a shower, only to find a complete stranger sitting on the living room sofa. I'd shriek in alarm, while Cassia and the man would burst into laughter, finding my terror amusing. I considered breaking the lease and moving out, but I had paid 6 months' rent up front to save a paltry $30 a month. As a recent graduate with a modest salary, I felt trapped and could only endure the situation. Serafina, my other roommate, and I often commiserated in private, venting about Cassia's eccentric and infuriating actions. One evening, my company was having a dinner party. Serafina sent me a message on WeChat. She told me Cassia had borrowed a large sum of money online for plastic surgery, and it had gone terribly wrong. She even secretly sent me a photo of Cassia. Opening the photo Serafina sent, a gasp escaped my lips. The picture was a clandestine side profile shot of Cassia. Cassia's face was swollen to nearly twice its original size, and her nose looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. She sat on the sofa, her gaze fixed blankly ahead, an unsettling stillness about her. I studied the photo closely, and then a prickle of unease ran down my spine. Something was off. I zoomed in on Cassia's face in the picture. Her head and body were clearly facing straight forward, but her eyeballs were undeniably slanted, staring directly and intensely into the lens. I almost dropped my phone. Cassia had clearly known Serafina was taking the picture. I immediately messaged Serafina, urging her not to take any more photos of Cassia. Serafina was obviously shaken too. She assured me she hadn't shared the photo with anyone else, only sending it to me. Just as I thought the matter was resolved, 10 minutes later, Serafina sent me another WeChat message. "Elara, Cassia's gone crazy, she's hiding under my bed. I think she wants to kill me. Elara, I'm so scared." My phone buzzed incessantly with her messages. Alarmed, I hurried outside and called Serafina. The call connected quickly, but just as I said hello, it was abruptly hung up. A moment later, another message from Serafina arrived. "Elara, everything's fine, Cassia was just playing a prank on me. Oh, and speaking of things, my company needs me to go on a business trip for half a month. I have to leave right away." A cold knot formed in my stomach. This felt profoundly wrong. Cassia and we had always had a strained relationship. She never joked with us. How could she possibly be playing a prank on Serafina? A deep sense of unease settled over me. Unable to wait for the dinner to end, I excused myself and rushed back to the apartment. I pushed the door open. The living room was plunged into darkness, silent as a tomb. A heavy, suffocating silence. "Serafina? Cassia?" I called out their names. There was no reply. My heart began to pound in my chest. I reached out to find the light switch, but my fingers brushed against something cold. I recoiled sharply, fumbling for my phone and turning on its flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing Cassia standing directly in front of me. She was utterly expressionless, her hand resting on the light switch. "Cassia, what are you doing just standing there? You scared me to death." A cold sweat broke out all over my body. Cassia didn't speak, her eyes fixed on me with an unsettling intensity. In the dim light of the flashlight, I could see that her face truly was disfigured. Where her features had once been pleasant, they were now grotesquely swollen, her face resembling a lumpy, overproof dough. Her skin looked rough and wrinkled, as if she had aged a decade overnight. "You're back." Cassia finally spoke, her voice raspy and strained. She pressed the light switch. When the overhead light flooded the room and I saw her face clearly, I gasped again. It was a catastrophic result. A monumental medical mishap. What kind of shady clinic had she gone to have her face ruined like this? Cassia's lips stretched into a grimace that was meant to be a smile. She suddenly moved closer to me and said slowly, "Am I very scary?" I almost said no, but the lie felt too absurd. Instead, I asked her if she planned to have corrective surgery. Cassia's expression twisted into something between a sob and a laugh. "I borrowed so much money. The clinic won't do free repairs and I can't pay the loans back now." Suddenly, Cassia lunged forward and seized my hand. Her fingers were icy cold, but there was a strange clammy stickiness to her touch. I instinctively tried to pull away, but her grip was incredibly strong, holding me fast. "Elara, I saw you bought an LV tote bag recently. You have money, right? Can you lend me some?" "Cassia, that bag cost me several months' salary. I really don't have any money left," I said with a sigh, trying to remain calm. Cassia stared at me, her eyes bulging slightly from the intensity of her gaze. The stare was so unnerving it sent shivers down my spine. Then, just as abruptly as she had grabbed me, she released my hand. Without another word, she turned and went back into her room. I hurried to Serafina's door and knocked. There was no answer. I turned the doorknob. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. The room was empty. But my brow furrowed instantly. Serafina's bedsheets had been changed. I distinctly remembered seeing her hang up her freshly washed sheets yesterday morning. They were a light green with a delicate floral pattern. Now, the bed was covered with a black and white checkered sheet. Would someone who had just washed their sheets yesterday, and was now rushing off on an urgent business trip, take the time to change their bedsheets? The feeling of unease in my heart swelled, becoming a growing suspicion. Just then I felt a chill on the back of my neck. I whipped my head around. Cassia was standing right behind me, her face inches from mine. "Elara, what are you looking at?" Cassia smiled again, a strained, unnaturally dry expression. "Cassia, why are you sneaking around like this, scaring me?" I couldn't help but sound irritated now. Cassia didn't answer. She repeated in that same mechanical tone, "Elara, what are you looking at?" I saw her gaze drift down to the bedsheet. "Elara, do you think there's something unusual about this bedsheet?" Cassia stared directly at me, her eyes wide. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Nothing at all. I just thought Serafina might have been joking earlier, but it looks like she really did leave for her trip," I said, forcing my voice to be steady. "Cassia, I'm going to get some rest. You should too. Maybe you should talk to your parents about getting the money to pay back the loans and fix your face." I didn't want to spend another second in the same space as Cassia. If before she had just been annoyingly bizarre, now she was genuinely terrifying. I practically fled back to my room and quickly locked the door. My heart was pounding furiously. Cassia's unsettling appearance and behavior replayed in my mind. A chilling thought surfaced. Serafina might be dead. But I quickly dismissed it. As strange as Cassia was, she wouldn't murder someone just because they took one picture of her, would she? Serafina was probably just traveling now, which is why her phone wasn't connecting. Feeling slightly relieved, I put on a face mask and lay in bed, scrolling through a popular detective drama. Just as I was getting lost in the lead actor's charm, I heard a strange sound coming from Cassia's room. Thud, thud. Sounded like knocking. The sound was distinct and clear. I immediately turned off the video and sat up. I could hear the sound of running water from the living room. Cassia must be in the bathroom taking a shower. Thud, thud. 2 more knocks. I couldn't stay still. I crept cautiously to Cassia's door. The knocking sound was even clearer here. I was certain there was something or someone in Cassia's room. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob. Just as I was about to turn it, a hand shot out from behind me and clamped onto my wrist. "Elara, don't you know it's impolite to enter someone's room without their permission?" Cassia smiled at me. I turned my head, ready to stammer an apology, but stopped dead, startled by her face. She had applied a thick, heavy layer of white foundation, but it did nothing to hide the uneven, scarred texture of her skin beneath. Wasn't makeup so much as a crude mask of white paint. Her lips were painted a garish, bright red, smeared well beyond their natural line. Cassia usually had decent makeup skills. She would never create such a disturbing look. Cassia, what? Why have you put on makeup like this? I asked, shocked. Cassia pressed her lips together in that strange smile. I still need to stream to make money, you know? How else will I pay back the loans? How else can I get the repairs done? With that, Cassia pushed the door open and stepped inside. I wanted to peer into the room to see what was inside, but Cassia gave me no chance. The door slammed shut in my face. Strangely, once Cassia was inside, the thudding sound stopped. Left with no other option, I went back to my room. Out of morbid curiosity, I opened Cassia's streaming channel. I had glanced at it once before. She usually wore black stockings and engaged in suggestive behavior, her face flushed and her expression provocative. It had made me uncomfortable, and I hadn't watched since. But tonight, Cassia's streaming style had completely changed. She wasn't speaking. Her eyes were wide and staring, her pupils alarmingly dilated, and she was completely expressionless. Online comments flooded the screen, many expressing fear and being creeped out. Cassia offered a stiff, unnatural smile to the camera. My heart pounded harder. I quickly closed the stream. Over the past few weeks, things with the man I was seeing had progressed quickly. We were on the verge of making our relationship official. Since we were long distance and rarely saw each other, we had a small routine. We'd keep a voice call open overnight while we slept, just to hear each other breathe. After finishing the latest episode of the drama, I started the voice call and drifted off to sleep. I don't know how much time passed before I was jolted awake by the man's voice. Elara, is someone else in your room? I think I hear a second person breathing. At his words, my eyes snapped open in sheer terror. Cassia was there, her head lowered, neck stretched out, her face pressed against mine. She hadn't even removed the bizarre makeup. Her face was still a horrifying, deathly white. She leaned close to my ear and whispered softly, Elara, are you asleep? A cold sweat drenched me. I instantly squeezed my eyes shut, pretending to be sound asleep, hoping she hadn't seen me open them. Elara, are you awake? I really do hear someone else. At that moment, I could have strangled the foolish man on the phone. Thankfully, I felt Cassia slide off the bed and quietly leave my room. The man was still babbling questions. Annoyed and shaken, I curtly told him it was just my roommate and ended the voice call. I got out of bed to use the bathroom. Suddenly, my foot hit something cold and hard. I looked down. It was a fruit knife. There was no fruit knife in my room, which meant there was only one possibility. Cassia had brought this knife in. An icy dread spread through my body. What had Cassia intended to do, coming into my room with a knife? Suddenly my phone buzzed. It was a direct message on Weibo from someone I didn't follow. It was already 1 a.m. I opened the message and a deep chill settled over me. Hello, are you there? Just so you know, someone just live-streamed from your room. The video is on an external site. I mean no harm, I just wanted to know if you were aware. My hands shaking, I immediately replied, asking him to send me the link. Sorry, you won't be able to access this link. It's only for paid members. But I can send you the live stream replay video. A few seconds later, I received a video clip. In the video, I saw someone gently push open my bedroom door. The hand with its bright red nail polish was unmistakably Cassia's. My heart seized up. In Cassia's hand there was a key. She had secretly made a duplicate key to my room. The camera moved steadily, panning across my room towards my bed. Then the camera zoomed in rapidly on my face. In the next horrifying second, I saw Cassia holding a fruit knife, tracing it along my neck. I felt a sudden phantom coldness on my skin. The chilling realization hit me. She intended to kill me. Terror, cold and absolute, made my body tremble. Cassia, she really wanted to kill me. Elara, is someone else in your room? I think I hear a second person breathing. Just then, the man's voice sounded from my phone. In the video, Cassia's hand froze, and the knife clattered onto my bed beside me. My heart hammered furiously. If the man hadn't spoken just then, I would likely be dead, murdered by Cassia. The video was filled with a flood of comments, presumably from the live viewers. Too bad, why didn't she kill her? Boring, I thought the streamer would kill her. This girl is pretty exactly my type. I hope the streamer cuts off her head. The comments were bloodthirsty, perverse, and overwhelmingly repulsive. Some were in Chinese, but many were in English, Korean, and even Japanese. I felt sick to my stomach. After watching the video, My first instinct was to call the police immediately. But I didn't get the chance. 2 seconds later, the video automatically deleted itself, vanishing as if it had never existed. Frantically, I sent a question mark to the sender whose name was a string of random characters. Apologies, you probably want to call the police right now, but I cannot allow you to do that. Otherwise, they will find me. Who are they? My fingers trembled as I typed the words. The sender never replied. I didn't sleep a wink that entire night. The next day, I requested extended leave from work. At 9 o'clock, I called Serafina's number. The call connected, but then there was a single beep before it hung up. Hello. The number you have dialed is currently unreachable. Moments later, I received a message from Serafina. Elara, I'm in a meeting, can't talk right now. The unsettling feeling in my heart refused to dissipate. Suddenly, a thought flashed through my mind. Before I started locking my door, Cassia used to sneak into my room and use my personal items. She even took my tablet during the day and used it as her own. Could she have logged into any of her accounts on my tablet? I grabbed my tablet and started checking for Cassia's login information. Indeed, Cassia had used my tablet to log into WeChat and her own browser account. Her WeChat was logged out, but to my surprise and relief, her browser account was still logged in. I scrolled through her recent search history. How to get a quick loan. Largest loans, lowest interest. Best plastic surgery clinic for bone reduction. Many searches were related to loans and cosmetic surgery. I scrolled back to yesterday's history. One search result chilled me to the bone. Best way to kill someone? My heart hammered again. A terrifying suspicion began to form. Cassia might have actually killed Serafina. She had gone completely insane. The next second, that search record vanished from the history before my eyes. Suddenly, there was a knock on my door. Elara, I used your tablet before and forgot to log out of my browser account. Were you just looking at my search history? No. I immediately denied it, my heart pounding. Cassia simply replied, Oh. I desperately wanted to confront Cassia about what happened last night and about the duplicate key to my room. But Cassia seemed so unstable and unpredictable now. I was afraid she might completely snap. There was no movement outside the door for a long time. Cassia seemed to have left. Suddenly, thud, thud. The door sounded as though something was repeatedly hitting it. Trembling, I pressed my eye to the gap under the door. I saw a pair of eyes unnaturally wide and bulging. Cassia was on the floor, headbutting the door repeatedly. I choked back a scream and scrambled backward in panic. Cassia, what are you doing? If you keep scaring me like this, I'm calling the police. The thudding against the door finally stopped. Elara, I need to go out. I'm going to the hospital to see about my face. Cassia's voice drifted, low and eerie, from the other side of the door. Hearing that Cassia was leaving, I felt a slight easing of the tension. Soon, I heard the sound of her leaving the apartment. I messaged the man I was seeing about what had happened. He also thought Cassia was acting very strangely. He urged me to go into her room and look around while she was out. Standing outside Cassia's door, I felt a surge of nervousness. I cautiously tried the doorknob. To my surprise, the door opened with a soft click. Cassia hadn't locked it. I had never been inside Cassia's room before. This was my first time. The room was a chaotic mess. Takeaway containers and used makeup wipes were strewn across the floor. The curtains were drawn shut, blocking out all light, making the room feel like night even in the middle of the day. There was a strong, unpleasant odor hanging in the air, sickly sweet and cloying. On her dressing table sat a laptop. It was open and on, casting a faint glow. To my relief, Cassia's WeChat was still logged in. My hands shaking slightly, I began scrolling through Cassia's chat history. One person's profile picture caught my eye. It was a single black eye. I opened the chat with this person. There was only one message. A link. I clicked the link, but it showed an access denied error. I quickly forwarded the link to the man I was seeing. As a programmer, he was very knowledgeable about computers. He messaged me back quickly. Elara, this is a link to an external website. I can't access it directly right now. It requires a member invitation code. Give me some time. I'll try my best to crack the member code. I continued to search Cassia's laptop for any further clues. Finally, I found a small lead. On a lone website Cassia had been browsing, I saw a private message record. Want to make quick money? We're recruiting live streamers. Add WeChat XXXXX. I searched for that WeChat ID. Sure enough, it was the same one with the black eye avatar. This link, I suspected, was the external site where Cassia streamed. Suddenly, I heard a soft creak behind me, followed by the sound of something heavy falling to the floor. I whipped my head around. On the floor, wrapped in a white plastic bag, was a human-shaped form. My heart hammered violently against my ribs. Inside the plastic bag was Serafina. More accurately, it was Serafina's body. Serafina's eyes were wide open, bulging alarmingly from excessive blood congestion. I stumbled backward and collapsed onto the floor, my body going completely numb. In that instant, I remembered the thudding sound I had heard last night. That was Serafina, still alive with a flicker of breath, sending me her final desperate cries for help. Hidden in the wardrobe, I saw a phone. It was Serafina's phone. The 2 messages I had received from her last night had been sent by Cassia, impersonating Serafina. Tears streamed down my face, uncontrollable and hot. I immediately reached for my phone, ready to call the police. Just then, the man I was seeing called me. His voice was urgent, frantic. "Elara, get out of that room. Immediately." I cracked the member code and accessed the website. Cassia is still streaming. She never left the apartment. She's been hiding under the bed live streaming. Cold sweat erupted on my back. My eyes darted to the space under the bed. There, hidden in the darkness, were 2 eyes, filled with a chilling, malevolent glee. I sprang to my feet, launching myself towards the door with everything I had. But it was too late. Cassia tackled me, her full weight landing on top of me. She wrenched my phone from my grasp and threw it violently across the room. It hit the floor with a distinct, sickening crack. "Ella!" The man's voice from the phone cut off abruptly. My phone was shattered. A wave of despair washed over me. But I refused to give up. Cassia's hands were around my throat, and she pressed the knife against my back. I felt a sharp, searing pain. "Elara, if you don't want to die here and now, look up." Anger surged through me, giving me strength. I lifted my head. Cassia had set up a mobile phone in front of me. The screen showed a live stream feed. Both my face and Cassia's were visible in the frame. Cassia's face was contorted in a look of manic frenzy. The comments on the live stream were refreshing rapidly. "Streamer, don't kill her all at once. I want to see this pretty girl slowly tortured to death, piece by piece. I'm getting so excited, this is wild. First time seeing a live murder stream. New here, huh? Let me tell you, this is nothing. Saw a girl get sulfuric acid poured down her throat once live. Ha ha ha, she screamed until she died." There were many comments from people speaking other languages too, but their words, regardless of language, were filled with the same bloodthirsty excitement. It was horrifying to imagine the twisted, ugly faces of the people hiding behind those screens right now. My chest burned with intense fury. That fury paradoxically made me feel calm. "Cassia, neither Serafina nor I ever wronged you. I tolerated all your strange behavior. Why do you want to kill us?" I looked directly into the streaming camera, my voice steady as I challenged her. On screen, Cassia let out a strange, cackling laugh. Her face, already disfigured, looked eerie and sinister. "Elara, I have no money. They promised me that if I completed these 2 streams, they'd give me $1 million. $1 million. That's enough to pay off all the money I borrowed from those loan sharks, and still have some left for corrective surgery. I'm not like you guys who went to university and found decent jobs. I'm different. I didn't even finish middle school. Do you know why I didn't finish middle school? Because of my damn stepfather. He said he'd break my legs if I kept studying. I wanted to make something of myself, earn more money. But my face is ruined now and I'm drowning in debt. Those loan sharks said if I don't pay, they'll release my nude photos online. Let everyone know I'm a slut. Elara, people like you living in the sunlight. You can't possibly understand my pain," Cassia muttered, her voice thick with self-pity and rage. "Cassia, don't be foolish. Do you really think you can kill us and escape the law?" I said coldly. A look of pure madness returned to Cassia's face. "Elara, you don't know. You don't know anything." I didn't know at first either. But they're much more powerful than we thought. This is an underground stream. They can make bodies disappear. Do you know why some people in the world just vanish? Disappear without a trace, their bodies never found. They have 100 ways to make a person disappear from the face of the earth, leaving no evidence. I need the money, Elara, do you understand? I'm sorry for you and Serafina. Don't worry, after my face is fixed, I'll send some of the money I earn from streaming to your parents. You are utterly beyond hope, Cassia, I said, my voice ice cold. The sharp point of the knife pressed against my throat. Cut her throat now. I'm getting so excited. Kill her. The comments from the live stream filled the screen. A torrent of depraved anticipation. They were all waiting for my throat to be slit. These monsters hiding behind their screens. I felt warm blood gush from my throat. My vision began to blur at the edges. Before I collapsed, I saw a pair of black leather shoes appear before me. I looked up at the man standing there, wearing sunglasses and a mask, dressed in a black suit. He was looking down at me with a cold, assessing gaze. Dead. The man in the black suit nudged my body with his shoe. His voice was distorted by a modulator, hoarse and grating. Don't do that, I said, my head still lowered, affecting weakness. The man in the black suit let out a low scoff from his throat. You'll handle their bodies, right? I can get away with this? When do I get the $1 million? I asked, feigning nervousness. I'm here now to dispose of the bodies for you. We'll set up a new overseas account for you, and the money will be transferred there. Cassia, your stream was very successful this time. Our members really enjoyed it. The man in the black suit chuckled, a low, unpleasant sound. He squatted down beside Elara's body, his hand, covered in a black leather glove, reaching out to touch her. Suddenly, Elara moved. She grabbed the man's hand violently and plunged a small knife she had concealed into his palm. The man screamed, a sound of raw, tearing pain. His hand was pinned firmly to the floor. He reacted quickly, reaching with his other hand towards the right pocket of his trousers. But I was faster. I snatched the knife from his hand and pressed it against his throat. I know you're going for a gun, I said, smiling sweetly. Go ahead and try. Let's see who's faster. You drawing your gun or me slitting your throat? The man's hand froze. Behind his sunglasses, his eyes were wide with shock. Elara, why aren't you dead? I smiled. Not only am I not dead, neither is Serafina. The plastic bag beside us rustled. Serafina climbed out from the bag. She grinned. That was suffocating. I saw the man's Adam's apple bob as he swallowed hard. He was clearly stunned. The members on the live stream, witnessing this impossible turn of events, were flooding the screen with frantic comments. What the hell is happening? They're alive. But I saw them get their throats cut. I saw Serafina die with my own eyes. How did you do this? The man in the black suit stammered, his voice incredibly low and dark as he stared at us. I didn't answer his question immediately. From the very beginning, this had been our plan, the three of us. And the organization had walked step by step straight into our trap. Now it was time to close the net. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Elara. I am a senior hacker. A year ago, my sister Luna disappeared. I grew up in an orphanage. Luna wasn't my biological sister, but she was my family, the only person I had in the world. After she vanished, I searched for her like a woman possessed. But Luna was like a ghost. She had simply evaporated. Until I found a video of my sister on an external website. In the video, she was in a warehouse. She was tied up, her large eyes filled with helpless terror. A man's hands brutally forced open her mouth and poured sulfuric acid down her throat. My sister's screams were a sound I would never forget. My fingernails dug into my palms, drawing blood. That day it was pouring rain. I took a taxi to the police station. Like a madwoman, I handed the video to the police. I knelt before them, begging them to catch the killer. But with only a pair of hands visible in the video, catching the killer was incredibly difficult. The case stalled. Until one day, the police told me they had caught the suspect. I saw the man who had murdered my sister. He was far more ordinary than I had imagined. He was a regular delivery driver, with elderly parents and young children to support, and a 30-year mortgage. He told the police and later me that one day he had received an invitation to a live stream, instructing him to kill a young woman around 20 years old. The man wept hysterically, pleading for my forgiveness. He had no grudge against my sister. He had done it purely for the $1 million. After hearing his confession, I left the police station feeling strangely calm, because I knew with absolute certainty that this was far from over. That same night, I received news that the man had died in police custody. The website vanished shortly after, all traces of it gone, as if it had never existed. Those people hidden in the shadows had escaped justice. From that day on, a plan began to form in my mind, but I couldn't execute it alone. I needed two helpers. The first time I found Cassia was in a club. Cassia was sitting on a man's lap, laughing flirtatiously. "You're Cassia, right? Can I talk to you outside?" I looked at her eyes, tired despite the heavy makeup, and asked, "Who are you?" "I'm expensive and I don't entertain women," she retorted, her voice dripping with practiced sweetness. "I'll buy half an hour of your time." 3,000, I said calmly. Cassia paused, surprised, then giggled and linked her arm through mine. I took her to a quiet cafe and ordered her a coffee. "Cassia, 6 months ago, your mother disappeared." The practiced smile vanished from Cassia's face. "Who are you? How do you know that?" She looked at me with sudden suspicion, like a cornered animal. I didn't answer directly. Instead, I showed her a video clip. In the video, a woman in her 50s was being strangled to death. Cassia's face began to tremble uncontrollably. I saw tears streaming down her cheeks. But Cassia was more intelligent and composed than I had expected. She wiped away her tears and shakily lit a cigarette. Who did this?" I said. "An underground live streaming organization. No one knows who they really are. This video, it was made for a specific member, just because he requested to see a 50-year-old woman die. My sister died at their hands too, Cassia. I know you used to be a special effects makeup artist. I need your help. Let's work together. Let's execute a plan." Later we found Serafina. Before losing her husband, she had been a talented stage actress. But his death had broken her. She was living in a psychiatric hospital. Her husband had been buried alive. After watching the video I showed her, Serafina held us both and sobbed for a long time. She wanted to join our plan, to expose the monsters hiding in the shadows. The organization was highly cautious. They sought out specific, suitable victims. So, we needed to become 3 completely different people, creating new identities that would attract their attention. Serafina and I became ordinary office workers. Cassia transformed herself into an entertainment streamer. For 6 months before the plan began, we cut off all contact with each other. We lived strictly according to our fabricated identities. 6 months later, the 3 of us, pretending to search for an apartment, successfully moved in together. To leave no room for suspicion, Cassia played the role of the irritating, bizarre roommate. Cassia borrowing money online and getting the plastic surgery were all part of our plan. It was bait designed to draw them in. And they took the bait. To monitor us constantly, they had Cassia install pinhole cameras in various sockets throughout the apartment. But they didn't know that I had already modified these cameras beforehand. They could only see what I wanted them to see. Cassia's botched surgery was fake. The wound on my neck was fake. Serafina's death was fake. All of it was the result of Cassia's brilliant special effects makeup. Serafina's acting was superb. She delivered a flawless performance of being killed live. Our entire purpose was to lure out the person behind it all. "And now I've caught you," I said, a slow smile spreading across my face. I turned my gaze towards the phone, the live stream still visible. "All of you. You've been hiding in the darkness like rats all this time. And now I'm going to pull you out one by one. I've found your identities. I've published your list online." A smile played on my lips. "Now, it's your turn to face punishment." The live stream screen went black instantly. I reached out and pulled off the black-suited man's sunglasses. He had a surprisingly handsome face. What surprised me even more was the lack of panic on his features. He looked at me with an expression of curious interest. "What about that man on the phone, the one you were seeing?" he asked. I told him there had been no man, no romantic interest. It was just my voice on the phone. And my acting, honed under Serafina's training, was simply flawless. The wail of police sirens rose from the street below. I had called the police the moment I had entered Cassia's room earlier. "It's time for you to face justice, you scumbag," I said, looking at him calmly. When that list was published, it sent shockwaves and panic throughout society. On the list were people who seemed like cheerful, kind neighbors. There were philanthropic individuals eager to help others. There were elites, senior executives. These people who had cowered in the dark corners of society were finally exposed to the light, with nowhere left to hide. Cassia left the city. Serafina and I went to see her off. Cassia smiled and told us she planned to continue working as a special effects makeup artist. She lifted her head, facing the sunlight, a hopeful sparkle in her eyes. "Me? I want to become an international special effects makeup artist." After seeing Cassia off, Serafina cried. She held me for a long time, telling me she wanted to go back to acting. I stroked her hair gently. "You are the most outstanding and courageous actress I have ever known."